Okay, so one of the things that I think is really important, as dyslexia has been talked about more. We've talked about this. It is talked about more. There's a lot of more people writing about it or talking about it, but there's even more information and more confusion out there for the parent. For the parent that's trying to navigate it, they're looking and they're like, oh, wait, this looks good. This is really good marketing. This person sounds like they know what they're talking about. And so we kind of wanted to dive in on here and really help you guys navigate this with just a little bit of like kind of knowledge about what to look for and what to be like, wait, you know what? That's maybe not the best place to get my information, even though it looks really pretty.
There's a lot of fluff, and you take a look how, you hear now how many, shit, there's all these scams out there. I thought this was real. Probably you're going to say that just about the same thing, in dyslexia, but you have to really dive into that information and understand where that information is coming from, and kind of dive into the people that are part of that information. The biggest one, IDA, right? International Dyslexia Association. They've been around for 75 years. And pretty much nobody still to this point has no idea what dyslexia is or what it's about. Or they put a definition of dyslexia, and it's 17 miles long. Now, if you're struggling to learn about dyslexia, do you think that's good for people that don't understand dyslexia? So dyslexia is, IDA is, in my mind, is a crock of shit. You've been around for 75 years and you really haven't done anything for dyslexia. So that one is a naysay for me, because you really haven't done anything. When you put a definition of the word dyslexia and it's 5 paragraphs long, everybody a part of IDA is caring about their paycheck, not about the dyslexic kid.
Mm-hmm. So I want to bridge off of that. So that's also their website with marketing is not, it's a very confusing website, but there's so many right now. And we've talked about this from the beginning. There's trends in America, trends in the world, longevity, hormones, all of these things that all of a sudden you hear people just jumping on and then becoming coaches. I can train you in this. I can teach you in this. It's the thing that people know that they can make a quick buck because it's vulnerable people on the other side. So that's where I get really protective and also get this like sometimes where it's like you freeze because it's like, I've done that. I've done that where I've been desperate for information or desperate for connection on something with, dyslexia or the 5Ds with my kids. And you can sometimes go down a path, as Brent said, look at the background. And here are some key things to look for, in my opinion, is it run by dyslexic people or is it run by professors and science? Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the science, but if a person is just going off of like, this is what you need, this is the only thing that's going to help a dyslexic person, this is, it's so black and white, that is a big giant red flag because every dyslexic, as we talk about, learns in a different way. And every dyslexic also, there's nuances that we talk about. And so if it's a very black and white solid, this is how it has to be, that's like the first red flag for me. And then if it's someone that has if they've studied dyslexia, they're scientists and they've studied the brain, they have knowledge of the brain, but they don't have the knowledge of what we go through every day. Are you looking up something?
Yeah. And what is that one group?
Your favorite group?
Yeah.
The Reading League?
Well, the Parents for Reading Justice.
Right.
Pretendly, 70-year-old woman who was real estate. What's her partner? The black guy from Oakland.
I forgot his name. Kwame? No.
Yeah,
I forgot what his name is.
They're not. Neither one of them are dyslexic, and now they're pushing science of reading. They're trying to go get laws pushed for science reading. And this is the biggest, only the best thing. Can't stand these two people. Why? Because that is not all. It's going to help some kids, absolutely, but it's not going to help all of them.
There has to be a blend.
There has to
be
be.
a blend.
Right. There's, you and I are two different people, right? We, two things are going to work different. Wilson reading, worked for my daughter, didn't work for your son.
Mm-mm.
So parents for reading justice, terrible people, cannot stand them, and can't stand her. And I got no problem. I don't come on here to rip people. I come on here to give facts because I live it every day. You live it every day. Both of them, they have dyslexic kids. They don't have it, right? So I think he's got a degree in some community services or something. Now you're the best. You don't have dyslexia. Science of reading is going to help some kids, 100%, but it's not going to help everybody. It's not going to help everybody. So as you just said, the blend, and that's where our parents take a second here. And if it may not work, and I was at this weekend talking to some parents with dyslexic kids, and they're blown away by how much their school district doesn't care.
And doesn't care, and it sucks. I know. I just talked to someone this weekend.
And it's one of the richest, the biggest school districts, and District 86, Hinsdale, Illinois. They are scumbags. They don't care. They want the blue ribbon. Look at me, school. And that brings you to a point of, it's that school district. My kids went there, got out of there. They want the recognition, right? They're paying the stupid, crazy property taxes. We want the blue ribbon sign. But guess what? If you're in the blue ribbon sign, they don't give a shit about people like us.
No, they almost want to brush us under the rug because it hurts their it hurts their numbers, right? I mean, my kids have grown up in those districts every time,
mm-hmm.
and that's the thing. The blend. This is what I've just was talking about this with someone this weekend, because these trends that everyone jumps on because it's like, oh my God, this is the new next thing, right? The peptides, all the stuff that I'm doing in the medical world. And I say, just everyone take a breath, and we have to look under the hood a little bit, because it's everyone's throwing it down our throats. Women with hormones, like it's now like, if you don't take a hormone, it's awful. Now, it's not right for everyone. And that's this is what makes me so angry, is that even with the peptides world and like the weighted vests and all the things that they're throwing at women, everyone should be doing this. Everyone should be doing this. And it's not. You have to do the education on your own, and you have to look under the hood and see. Now, also, when we were talking about Wilson reading didn't work for Montgomery, it was the person that was giving it to him. They weren't qualified. They did not care. Don't even get me started on that. Now, what could it have worked if there was someone else administering him? When he went to the school with that strictly was Orton Gillingham, that's where he thrived. He needed something a little bit more intense. So it's the same sort of thing right now. Everyone's pushing Wilson reading because the Orton Gillingham stuff was thrown down everyone's throat before, right? And it was like, this is how it has to be. So now this other side is like, no, this is how it has to be. This is how the world is right now. It's either like, you have to be either, and I'm not going to bring politics in, but it's like one side, and it's not. There's so much in the middle that people miss. And that is what makes me so sad, because a parent that is struggling in this world right now, that their kid is just diagnosed or their kid is going into high school, and they're all of a sudden realizing, wait, they're struggling more than I thought. It's a really scary, really lonely, and really frustrating world.
Right. And I had a call, talk to a gentleman, he was at a golf event, he's dyslexic, and he was telling me, he's like, just so many people come up to me and talk to, my kid's struggling, what do I do? My kid's struggling, what do I do? We talk about it all the time, and, when we're at this event, relatability in school, there is none. You say all the time, people who teach your school were good in school, so they relate with those kids. But the rest of us, there is no relatability, right? Why do I want to go there? Oh, they keep trying to do statistics, and they keep trying to do why kids aren't going to school. Why would I want to go to school when I don't relate with the teachers? when I don't relate with any of the students, so I'm just going to sit there in the corner and feel terrible. Why would I go?
Mm-hmm.
And why would I going to sit there nice and not be an asshole and just sit there? Like, that's put yourself in a kid's situation. And I was I was one of them, and I wanted to be outside playing. And why would I want to come in now? So there's zero relatability in the schools for for individuals and kids like us. That's why I would struggle. It's basically taking a knife and just stabbing myself all day long sitting there. And that is, I said that to the parent, to her son. I'm like, there's no relatability, right? Why did you want to go there? We don't connect with anybody. We don't have friends. We don't do this. We're just that blinking red light in that classroom going, oh, that's that kid.
But there's also, I mean, let's be frank. School's boring for even kids that are doing well because of the way the world has evolved and school education hasn't evolved. If you look at the reason why school was made in the first place, and then you look over the time of what has changed. Now, there's certain districts that do. So someone that's listening to this could say, "Oh, wait, my kid, actually has they've changed some of the It's not just sitting in the class and just getting, having someone stand there and just like drill information into your fucking head that you don't need or want because it's not your interest." There's so many places that have evolved, but public education has not evolved. And there's kids that do well in school that I hear. I mean, my kids' friends, they're bored out of their mind because life is so fast. There's so much technology. There's so much fun that they could be doing instead of just sitting there learning things that don't equate to them. I mean, it's life skill, nothing. I mean, it's just the same stuff that we sat there and learned. And it's like, okay, there's so many new things that have come that have evolved, and the education system still hasn't incorporated that. So it really is one of these dinosaurs that's like, okay, when are you guys gonna?
They're not going to. They want it
Yeah.
that way. That's control, relatability, right? They want them to, be under their fingertips. But it's, I had one dad, I spoke to, there at the event, and he's like, core math. He goes, my daughter can get the answer every time, but you can't do all the steps. I'm like, yeah, because that's our brain. And I was talking to the gentleman called. He's got his own electrician, electrical company. And I said to him, yeah, dyslexic brains, we work backwards. He's like, what do you mean? I said, for you, let's say you can see your business. You're already at the end. And then, basically say, let's say your business is 10. We think 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 steps. Where a normal brain is starting at 1. And to create, because he looked at me, he's like, holy shit. He goes, yeah, you're right. Because I come in the office, very successful business. And again, he was a sponsor, good dyslexic kids. He's dyslexic. And he's like, fuck. I'm like, yeah, I come in the office and I mess things up, right? Because we're going the opposite way.
No, so it's funny. So this weekend we did a wine tasting on Saturday. Okay. And no, I was not drinking the wine, but I was sitting there watching. I had my seltzers or whatever. But it was really interesting. This one place, they were doing the earlier blend. They were doing whatever it was. They were doing the later blend on the left and the earlier blend on the right. Whatever it was it. And this one guy, and I'm in my head, I was like, he's totally dyslexic or ADHD. Yeah. And I couldn't, everyone kept saying, which one? And I was like, I don't know. I'm so confused because it's not, my brain wants to do it the opposite way. And they were like, most of them got it. But they were like, no, because this is the reason why they're doing it that way. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. And this other guy, and he just started laughing. He's like, why? I don't understand why it's left to right or right to left. And I'm like, I don't ask me. And so the woman that was doing it was explaining, and it literally did not make any sense in my brain. And then I told her she's dyslexic, and she's like, you're not the first person, that dyslexic person that has been to a wine tasting that says the same thing. Their brain just does not grab that.
Right.
And so the guy that was having a problem, he's like, wait, am I dyslexic? And I was like, I don't know. We could talk. I was like, you're something because your brain definitely is not working like everyone else's.
Right.
So it was just a really interesting thing to think about sitting there and watching it. And, our brains literally work opposite
Opposite.
I would say an average brain than the typical brain. I don't.
It was funny you said that because the parents there that have their kid in the Hinsdale district, he's dyslexic, and they own businesses got to do with with the industry. And I said, when I say something, first off, I'm the dumb hockey player. What do you mean you don't know? You haven't been to college. The hardest part is that it's almost opposite all the time of what they think it is. To your point, right? You just said there, like, we're gonna just go left. No, that's not what works for us. It's the opposite. Our brain, so then it's so wild to them. No, that can't be. How do your brain doesn't work? It's instead of being like that person right there. If that's not the first time it's happened to them, why wouldn't you take that into consideration? Now, the first time, okay, but if it happens 2 or 3 times to maybe you want to take that and apply that if you're working with a group of people,
No, totally. But there's a history of wine tasting, and I was not, I was paying attention, but the history of the wine tasting and the way she was explaining the reason why it's like a European thing, the reason why they do the blends the way they do. And so right. But no, I hear you. Well, we were laughing because I was like,
No.
stop asking me. I don't know. I was like, it's opposite of what I'm thinking. And I know when I'm driving and I'm like, we're going to go left. Everyone's like, nope, go right. Because usually I'm wrong every time. So that's how we know. Wait, no, if we're lost, whatever Juliet says, do the opposite. And we'll
do
get
the
there.
opposite.
Yeah. So I have no idea. And again, I'm not going to try to explain the reasoning to it, but it was a very interesting thing because my brain, even when I stopped to think, and I wasn't drinking, so I was like, I have a clear brain here. So like, I cannot understand what you're saying and the logic behind it. And I can't, even if someone explains it, I couldn't grasp it. I mean, it was I was giggling because I was like, oh my God, this is like hurting my brain.
Right.
I couldn't grasp it. So even thinking, when you do nearsighted and farsighted, I have to stop and think about that every time because farsighted means you can't see close and nearsighted means you can't see far or whatever. It's the dumbest thing.
I don't have to, I don't wear glasses. I don't know.
But so it's the opposite thing, but I have to stop every time and be like, I can't see far. So that means I'm nearsighted. It's so just say farsighted.
I don't know you blind people here, and
but it's the kind of the same thing. It's like an opposite brain thing that it doesn't make logical sense, but other people don't get caught up on it. But I have to stop and process and wait and think. Okay, wait, what is it? Same that I have to do with my lefts and rights. If someone says left, I have to stop and focus on what is my left. I can't just do it.
And last week, I had a call with 3 hockey coaches. I think it was like 3 in one day, and spoke to one that teaching, he's coaching a dyslexic. He's not dyslexic, he doesn't have it in his family. So I was spoken to him, I'm like, I always have to anybody who's playing a sport color one of their lefts or rights. Let's say your left thumb on the hockey glove. So now he knows where lefts and rights are. Because I said, I haven't met the kid. The dad sent me an email. I've had a couple conversations with the dad. I said, be willing to speak to the coaches, kind of give them my perspective. And that's how the conversation began. But I said, I bet you a lot of dyslexics don't know left and right. And I didn't know if the kid was or not, but he's like, yeah, all the time. I'm like, yeah, because a lot of us don't know our lefts from rights. So I said to the coach, I said, you know what I do? I always color one of the players' thumbs on their glove. Like that doesn't have to be, just has to be a little bit marks that he knows, oh, he's on the left side or he's on the right side. And the coach is like, holy man, that makes more sense of why he's doing what he's, what he's doing, back to our whole lefts and rights, so that he just looks down, he sees it. Now, a lot in hockey, if you're in the box or you're going out or soccer, like what side is left? Is the near side? Is that where I'm supposed to be, right side, or is it the far side? And when I coach kids, like, oh, is it close side or is it far side? Right? They didn't know what the lefts or rights are. And I said to him, when I coach with little kids, I don't use left sides or right. I just use numbers till they get the positions. He's like, wow, I've never thought of that. I'm like, yeah, so they learn the positions and you can attach that, but
Layer right
it's
to
just, he, never thought of implying something like that because they've never struggled like that.
Mhm.
And if you never struggle like that, you will never attack a problem because it's not a problem to you.
Right, and what it looks like the kid's not paying attention or the kid's not good because they have to pause for a second to process in their brain where they're going. So this is one of the things that that so many dyslexics are very talented. They have a strong talent, right? And a lot of it is sports, but there's also a group of dyslexic people that are not as talented in sports because of that right there, right? It takes them too long to process to get to that. It's the same with a lot of dyslexics are actually really strong in math. I always knew the dyslexics that were strong in math. And then I was like, well, oh, I can't be dyslexic because I suck at math, right? I didn't realize that that was like, oh, the dyscalculia part. I got the other thing. But it's the same sort of concept. So you have to give that child a moment because they actually could be really athletic and really good, but the little things are tweaking them up. Remember, my nephew Bradley said that's one of the reasons why he stopped playing because it gave him such anxiety because he would not be able to, where Montgomery was able to alter it. In college, though, was the first time his freshman year when the plays got more difficult and it got faster. Faster is what it was. And he had to stop with the coach. And I remember him calling me and be like, fuck my dyslexia. It's never affected me on the field. This is the first time. And that kicked him in the ass, right? He was so upset. But I mean, I shouldn't say he was upset. He was really frustrated, but then did the extra work to figure it out. Just like when he was working at a restaurant, when he was like 14, he worked at this like really fancy restaurant in West Hampton, and he was going to be a busser. And in my heart, I was like, oh my God, this place, it was like a traditional restaurant where you had very specific things. And he had the kid that was training him put it all down on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And he memorized that piece of paper. He's like, no, mom, I got it. And I was like, oh, see, I wasn't good as a host. So I fucking fucked that shit up.
Dyslexics don't read. Dyslexics memorize.
Right.
And I don't know. I was reading an email, something that came in, and I was trying to read it to Elizabeth, and I was nowhere in the same hemisphere what that word was. It started with the same letter, right? Yeah. That's and just all right. Oh, I think it actually had to do with my prescription because of my tooth. She's like, "Oh, what'd you get?" I'm like, "Whatever I thought it was." And she's like, "Yeah, nowhere close, but
right." But it was a good try.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, but that's the thing. People like those little things. Someone's not going to understand, and that's why it's so important that coaches understand that you're going to have a dyslexic kid, right? It's 1 in 5. You're going to have a dyslexic kid, and if you're coaching and teaching, and same with teachers. I mean, if you can just change it a little bit, where it helps that dyslexic kid be able to adjust a little bit in their mind, you're just going to have so much more success.
And if a teacher says, your kid's struggling, stick with it, they're going to get it. Automatically, no, they're not. Because we would already be getting it. Why grade 1 or 2 or 3? That's just them pushing your kid along. Because what they're saying to us, as we just spoke about lefts and rights, we're not processing what they're saying. Why we're going to all of a sudden just start processing in grade 4 or 5 or whatever that they're not.
Mm-hmm. You're just going to be behind.
If the teacher's like, oh, he's going to get it or she's going to get it, that should be your number one red flag. You know it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. There's something else going on, like dyslexia.
And a lot of times, a parent that either it's their first kid, it's usually when it's your first kid, you don't realize like, oh, okay, the teacher said it, might have nothing to compare about. And then you have a child that doesn't have dyslexia and they pick up the reading or they pick up the writing and you're like, oh,
and that's so many stories. You heard 2 siblings, one with dyslexia, the other one's like just off the charts. smart, in school, the school education. So they're just surpass, and it's hear it all the time.
All the time. I said, we don't want our Riverside rap later to have on it. Remember I told you that our Riverside rap, it was, I said, I don't say and then when it did it, I was like, oh, I say
Again,
now I just said it 50 times.
Yeah. Again, when I start broadcasting, you don't really realize how often you do certain things to actually listen, taping yourself or recording, or, they always talk about when you're on TV, stare in the mirror, right? And look at yourself. It's the hardest thing in the world to watch yourself talk. You see every movement.
I love watching myself talk.
Of course you do.
I
do. Of course you do. Of course.
But most people don't, which I understand. Well, it is one of those things that I like to listen back, because then I'm like, oh my God, I was so good. That sounded great. That was great advice. Because a lot of times, don't you do this? I know people do. So if you say no, that's totally fine, because I know that there's people. I can say something and someone will say to me, can you repeat that? I'm like, no. I talk, it just comes naturally to me. I'm not thinking about what I'm talking about, just natural. And no, I cannot repeat it. I know it was good. So then it will be like, I want to listen back and see how wonderful I was. Do you want to add anything else?
No, we're just going to leave it at that. No, we're leaving it at that one.
Thank you for joining. Word blindness, dyslexia exposed. Don't forget to like, rate, review, and share. And really think about the information that you're ingesting. Do a little homework, because you never know what the back end agenda of the individual is. And it is a scary time when you don't know what's going to happen with your kid when you have so much love. So don't forget to like, rate, review, and share.